I've been seeing that it's Mental Health Awareness Month, I believe, and I've been debating back and forth if I wanted to do a video in relation to it. Um, I haven't, I feel like I haven't done anything like that before. Like, really, I'm pretty transparent on my channel, but I've never, gone deep into anything really. But initially, when I made my YouTube channel, it was a platform for me. Um, if people enjoyed it, I would be grateful for that. But um, I wanted to make sure that everything I was doing was for me, to showcase my interests, to showcase things I've learned, to, just document my growth and things like that. And, obviously some fun stuff that doesn't have any meaning and that's useless, but that I enjoy. So anyway, the purpose for this video is just for that, like just to kind of release and analyze some things and talk about some things. So recently I felt what I guess people portray depression as. I've heard about depression before. I know people that struggle with it, and I've always just thought of it as, like, I don't know, eternal sadness. You can look up the clinical definition for depression, but whenever I hear it, it reminds me of people that are just sad in a funk constantly and they can't really control it. And I never associated that with myself. And it kind of hit me yesterday that I may be depressed. And even still saying that makes me feel a little weird because it's kind of like depressed about what? I will say, just to give you guys some backstory, I've struggled with anxiety forever. And it started getting worse when I want to say when I got to like high school and college, and when I started working a real like demanding job. I already had like a sense of worry all the time and feeling uneasy about everything, over analyzing everything, picking things apart. I've developed a crazy habit of making things my fault and trying to change myself to make situations better, or always looking at myself and picking and trying to, adjust my actions to appear better, or whatever. I can't really explain it. And this is another thing that I wanted to say. It also took me a long time to speak up and express myself. That didn't really happen until I was in my early 20s, and I'm only 25. So to communicate is very difficult for me in words because I'm so used to having things locked up in my head, and my head is like its own little universe that to communicate it is very difficult sometimes, and I'm so fearful of people misunderstanding me or misrepresenting me. And every time it happens, it like hurts me so bad. So anyway, all of my life, especially when I was a younger child, I didn't really speak up. I didn't really speak a whole lot. I was just more of an observer and a listener and a people watcher, noticing behaviors, and that's why I pay so much attention to nonverbal behavior, because it sometimes it tells more than just plain words. So I was a really quiet kid, really kind of awkward, always secretly wanting to be popular and be cool and feel a part of something, like, a group, or some people say a tribe, like just wanting to feel included. I never felt included. And I know a lot of kids go through that, especially when they get to school. Like, you don't feel, there's a place for everyone. There's a group, there's a clique that you fit into. And I never could find my clique. I was always in between. Like, you know, too weird or nerdy for the cool kids, but too cool for the weird kids, you know? It's almost like I could relate to everybody. I called myself a floater in high school because I had a larger group of friends in high school and they were all like in betweeners. Like they could kick it and joke with the cool kids if they let them. And they could relate with, you know, the kids, I don't know, in the anime club, which is weird. I mean, it's not weird to me, but it was weird when you compare it in a high school setting. Most kids would think that it's weird. Or like, you know, anyway, the kids in the anime club or kids who, I don't know, dressed in cosplay or whatever. Like, I could relate to all of them because I had a little bit of an interest in everything. Like, sometimes I like ratchet stuff. Sometimes I want to sit and watch a documentary on the universe or dive into conspiracy theories. It just depends. And over the course of my life, I have tried to perfect being a chameleon and being able to blend in so I could fit into all of those things. And to be honest, it never worked for me. Especially when I was in middle school and younger. Like, I used to just watch cool kids because they weren't really that cool, but you know how we are as kids. I used to watch them and just be fascinated, like they're so funny or they dress so nice or people love them. Um and wonder like why don't I have anything that makes me stand out? Like I don't have anything that people are drawn to. Like, you know, some kids can walk into a room and they're social and they they you know they demand attention and people like, you know, respond to them or are drawn to them. It's like I walk into a room, obviously in in defense, I was quiet, so who's gonna be looking my way? But it's like I don't feel like I have anything cool to offer. And I had been a lonely child. I was an only child, so I didn't have siblings. I had cousins, but all of my cousins are smaller than me, the ones that I grew up with. So I pretty much stayed to myself. I always had a couple friends, like one or two. I had a friend since I was like 6 or 7, that I'm still friends with now, my best friend. And I've always wanted a larger group of friends. And I can honestly say it's never been about boys or anything, like wanting to be attractive. It was strictly about just wanting to be cool and popular and wanting people to want to be friends with me. Or like just be interested in my interests. So anyway, I stayed to myself. I was really close with my parents and I was always artsy. Like I loved arts related things. I loved the computer. Um, so that was my thing, like art. That was the way I could express myself without anyone, you know, saying anything. Because with art, you can do anything and it can be considered art depending on who's looking at it. So I was drawn to that. I could draw a little bit. Um, and then, so yeah, that's just the backstory of, you know, just trying to feel wanted and included. That has followed me for a long time. And then when I got to high school, that's when I kind of like lowered that whole desire a little bit because it just didn't work. And I had a large group of friends that were pretty similar to me in that way, like quirky humor, vulgar sometimes quiet, you know, many different interests. Like we never met each other based off of what we could add or anything like that. Like nobody was in it to gain something. We just strictly enjoyed each other's company. And those are the friends that I still have. So looking back, like none of that stupid stuff that I cared about mattered, but for some reason, like my inner child just really wanted and wants to feel like I have something, just something in me that I don't know, people can see. Like I just wanted to feel seen. I want to feel seen for what I really am. So yes, back to the depression. That made me think about how sad I actually am and how different I am. And that was like my early reality check on the world and how in the real world there's places that people fit, and I just struggle with fitting somewhere, whether that's going to college and excelling and getting the degrees that everybody tells you you have to have, or I'm 25, having a car, having a license, moving out of your parents' house, like all those things that society and people, you know, parade on and make your whole being. People make that who you have to be, or what makes you cool, or what makes you even worth looking at. And I have struggled with that forever because none of those things feel natural to me. None of those things make me, you know, I don't want to I don't feel like I need to do any of those things to prove my worth of being seen. And it's hard for me, and it all came to a head yesterday, just feeling I don't even know the word, just feeling like I can't fit anywhere. I can't, no matter how hard I try. I thought I was a perfect chameleon of being able to blend in, and I work on it all the time, just trying to feel like I can be everything. I can be everybody's kind of person. I can fit in with anyone. I can make it work. That was my whole thing in my head. Like, I can make it work, and I can't. It's destroying my it's destroying the way I see myself, and I'm losing sight of who I am. And another thing that I noticed is that once I started speaking up a little bit more, people don't really expect that, and you get pushback from speaking up, especially when you're known to be quiet. It's like, kind of like, why are you talking kind of thing. And this video is already 12 minutes, so I may just stop here and upload a part 2. But just to break off here, I am struggling with being okay with who I am, whether that makes me fit in or not.